Tired of shows that bark and scream at you? This is the show that speaks to you.
Here's the game plan.
It's the Big E Sports Extravaganza, where we go inside the issues, present a variety of topics, and feature some of the biggest sports guests on the planet. Now, here's the one and only, award-winning Elissa Walker-Campbell.
Hey, Elissa Walker-Campbell, I want to welcome you back to the Big E Sports Show this weekend as we are celebrating the life and legacy of one of Texas golf's respected figures, Jackie Cupid. He was a four-time winner on the PGA Tour, the 1961 Rookie of the Year, and Cupid competed during one of golf's great eras alongside legends like Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, and Sam Snead. Jackie was also part of the legendary University of Houston golf program. And joining us now is Texas Golf Hall of Famer. That is Mike Booker. He is one of the most accomplished amateur golfers in Texas history, a University of Houston standout, and the author of A Tournament's Golfer's Playbook. Mike, it is always an honor to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Hey, the honor's all mine. Great to be with you.
Well, we've got a lot of ground to cover, and we're going to lead off, and we're going to talk about Texas golf legacy, and that is Jackie Cupid. Of course, he passed away last week in East Texas, and you know, when people talk about great figures in Texas golf history, Jackie's name always comes up and is at the forefront. So what made him such an important figure in the game? What comes to your mind?
Well, he was one of those people, it sounds a little hokey, but he was the real deal. Didn't use, some players have certain strengths of their game and other parts of the game maybe aren't so strong and they get away with it. They're able to make it work. Jackie was just pure talent. I mean, he could do everything. I mean, he won 39 amateur events in his record on tour. He won 2 PGA Tour events as an amateur. And so I think that, there's been a couple other people that have done that. You and I, one of them as the junior player that you guys know so well, but he was just raw, beautiful talent. He could hit the ball. He could do everything. That just, you don't usually find somebody who's got a particular skill that dominates and it can cover up any other partial weak areas. But Jackie's true genius was that he could do everything beautifully and nobody hit the ball better.
Jackie was one of 10 children. He grew up in East Texas caddying, to bring money home for the family. And I just have to wonder, reflecting on his life, how those early experiences shaped the determination that he showed throughout his career.
No doubt about it. I mean, golf at a competitive level, I think you have to be very, very tough to make it. I mean, golf just spends most of its time knocking you down. It's just a question of, if you're going to get up. And Jackie came, kind of hard scrabble growing up, 10 kids. So there's no doubt that I think his life growing up was tough, was not easy. And he took that to the golf course and translated it into one of the best tournament golfers ever.
Yeah. Well, Jackie competed against legends like Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, and Sam Snead. And, reflect on that golden era of golf. I mean, what did it take to compete during that time?
Well, he was in a really difficult era. I mean, people talk about, Ernie Els and Mickelson, they had to play in the Tiger era and that they didn't, maybe they didn't get enough attention. But Jackie played against Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer. I mean, forget about it. He played against the very, very best and held his own. He had, again, a sterling amateur career and then took it on tour. They almost won the U.S. Open. And I knew Jackie. We had the University of Houston team, we'd get together with all the ex-teammates every now and again. And that's how I first met Jackie. And he was just a really gentleman, just a great man and a great player.
Mike, you bring up his runner-up finish at the 1963 U.S. Open, and that certainly was a defining moment in his career and with his reputation. The Canadian Open, he won that in 61, and from what I understand, his brother Buster was like the runner-up. How significant is that achievement? I mean, 1-2, and your brother, finishes in second. I mean, that's extraordinary.
I know it shouldn't. It's a trivia question, right? But it shouldn't be. Buster was quite an accomplished player, obviously, as well. So, yeah, that is, to the best of my knowledge, that's never been done before or since.
Well, we talk about Jackie Cupid, and I mentioned, he was a part of the legendary University of Houston golf program. Just what has made this program such a powerhouse during even your era, Mike?
Well, I think Coach Williams, for sure, his real gift was that he was a great recruiter. I grew up outside Los Angeles, and I was, this was before the internet and cell phones and whatnot. He would send me, I got a clipping from the school newspaper or from the Houston Chronicle, some clipping seemed like every week. And by the time I came from California to Houston, I felt like I knew everybody. I felt like I was already part of the team. So his real gift was recruiting. Now, when I played, we had like 22, 24 guys on the team. You only use 5 at a time, so it was quite competitive. We had guys from Singapore. We had guys from all over the place. And so that, to me, he created that cauldron that everybody got thrown into. And you either survived or you didn't. So I think that was really the secret to it. I think it's more difficult now because other golf programs have come along and they've got, golf courses that are strictly for them. They've got amazing facilities. So now it's become a lot more competitive on the recruiting side to get players in. But, this sounds crazy, but when they offered me a scholarship to come to Houston, I never even visited the school. I had the number 1 team in the country wanted me to play on their team. I said, I'm in. I got my little 70 Mustang and I drove east.
Wow. Well, you mentioned playing for legendary coach and Dave Williams, and you just have to wonder, coaches have such a profound impact on a student athlete. I mean, what lessons from him perhaps still influence the way you think about the game today, Mike?
Well, I think that what Coach did was that he was always there to kind of encourage you, like any coach should be. But he took it a step further by, again, creating a situation where you had to prove your point. And, he sort of let golf knock us down, and then he'd help us, get back up. But ultimately, he was just a great man, bigger, larger-than-life kind of personality, and was a great influence on hundreds of players that came through the program.
What I hear you saying is that he created a competitive culture at Houston and certainly produced a lot of, national championships. But what was it like practicing and competing in that particular environment? Take us back.
I'll tell you what that was like. I would be out practicing because Coach didn't really give lessons or anything like a lot of modern day coaches. You went out and played and you turned in a scorecard. But for me, I'd be out hitting balls and working on something, and I'm pretty tired, and I'm pretty much done practicing. And then, I might start to go get the clubs and put them in the car, and I think, no, I'm not done yet because there's somebody who wants my spot. And so I'd go back out and work another half hour until I, just was dropping from being so tired. So the environment that Dave Williams created made you work harder than you knew you could. And so that's always going to create the best player individually. And I think over the years, the record shows the best team, 16 national titles. Growing
up in California, who had the biggest influence, and where does that drive? Where did that come from?
Well, it's funny. You may have heard the story before when we've talked, but I couldn't. Somebody came by my house when I was 12, 13 years old and asked for the nearest golf course. I have no idea what to tell them. I could never give them directions. We played all sports in my family, but nobody played golf in my family. And one summer, I was 13, went to a sports camp. It was a half-day sports camp, and every day we played sports, and I loved it. Basketball, baseball, what have you. One day I show up, and Coach Myers has got a bunch of old golf clubs and golf balls, and he's drawn 3-foot circles on the football field with a stake, in the middle, like a broomstick in the middle. And so today we're going to play golf. And I said, Coach, I have no interest in golf whatsoever. I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully, we're playing something else. This is an absolute true story. I turned around to walk home, and he said, that's okay, Book. He said, you probably wouldn't be any good at this anyway. Just go on home.
Oh, okay.
And I turned around to give some smart aleck remark, and he stuck a club in my hand. And a week later, I had my own set of clubs. I told my football, basketball, baseball coach I was done with their sport. And I was. I never went back and played any other sport. And that's how I got launched into golf. And of course, my father left home when I was 2. My mother didn't remarry till I was in college. So he had 2 daughters that weren't into sports. So he and I became really like a father-son. He was the right guy at the right time for me. In fact, when that was in junior high, in California, junior high was 7, 8, 9, and then high school was 10, 11, 12. So when it came time for me to go into 10th grade and move on to the high school, he applied for the golf coach job there and got it. So we kind of graduated junior high together, and we were close. He really was like a father to me, and I like to think I was like his son.
Wow. What was that like for your mom when you told her that you were going to leave California and come on to the Lone Star State? How'd she feel about that? What'd your mom say?
My mom was very supportive of that.
Okay.
She supported me all the way through. They said, that was really her strength, and she always supported everything I did, no matter what it was. If it didn't, whatever it was, if it was a basketball game or golf or whatever it was, if it didn't go well, you'd think that she had gone through it because she would suffer too. She was like, She's a lot like you and your boys. She suffers through those bad rounds and those bad shots just as much as I did.
Oh, well, what a life, what a legacy. I mean, the University of Houston, we got to talk about this. They recently honored you by naming the men's golf head coach position after you. I mean, what does that recognition, what did that mean to you personally?
Well, it's wonderful because I'm 71 now, and I'm trying to leave stuff behind. You know, I wrote the Tournament Golfers Playbook. That was really a legacy project to leave something behind. My wife and I have been very supportive of UH Golf over the years, and we had tried to put together this endowment idea to be able to pay for extra things for the players. And, you know, NIL got in the way, and we didn't really want to go that route. Anyway, and lawyers, you know, drawing up documents here and there. Anyway, we finally got it done. And it's an endowment that will pay off, hopefully, forever. They'll draw down on it for those extra things that the players need. And when we decided to do this, they came to us and said, "Look, if you're going to do it for this amount, we're going to name the head coach position after you." And that really came out of right field. I had no idea. I thought, well, that's weird. I've never heard of that. But it turns out that Stanford and a bunch of other programs do that same sort of thing. So it's obviously a great honor. And to think that my name's getting left behind for U of H golf, I can't tell you what a thrill that is.
Yeah. Well, your career spans decades of elite amateur competition. I mean, what do you think has been the key to your sustained success?
Gosh, I think, as I kind of alluded to a minute ago, I think that growing up without a dad, I think that it's easy to get into a mode where you're feeling sorry for yourself, you're feeling like a victim. So I think that for me, I recognized and I accepted the fact that golf was going to spend 90% of its time knocking you down. A lot of people don't get up or they complain about getting knocked down. So I decided early on that I wasn't going to be a victim and that I expected to get knocked down by the game and various other things in life, and that I was determined to make sure that I always got back up. And I was, in business, you have a bad day, somebody doesn't become a client that you want to become a client, those sort of things. That's really what golf has taught me, and I talk about it in the book as a life hack. Golf really taught me that you can always get back up, and sooner the better. So I think that for me, just recognizing that I was not going to fall into a victimhood mentality like so many other golfers, that I think that when you accept something, then, and I talk about in the book also about it, embracing the suck. That's embracing the suck, yes. Recognizing that bad things are going to happen. You're going to pull them in close, and then you can deal with them. You can't pretend they're not there and try and hide from them.
We are winding down our time with Texas Golf Hall of Famer, the great Mike Booker, our very special guest on the Big E Sports Show. And so let's shine the spotlight on your book. I know we have talked about it in the past. First of all, where can they go and get a copy? And just the inspiration of the book when you were like, I've got to carve out time and make this happen. I've got to pen a book.
Well, that's a funny story, too. First of all, you can get it at TG, Tournament Golfer, tgplaybook.com or Amazon. It really came about in a very funny way. Again, Coach Dismuke at University of Houston about 5 years ago called me and said, "Hey, we've got this really talented team, but we're not winning tournaments. I don't know what the problem is, but I think it's maybe mental. Would you come talk to him?" And he said, "You played in a lot of tournaments, blah, blah, blah." So I said, "Great." So I was very honored to do that. And so I started putting an outline together of what I thought was important to become successful in tournament golf. Things like, being your own best friend and understanding what you can control and what you can't control. And, breathing, all kinds of different things. I put them together. And then in the middle of all that, I met with them about a week later. I came up with the concept that you're either a tournament golfer or you're just a golfer who plays tournaments. So I sat down with these boys and I said, "You guys all think you're tournament golfers?" And they all kind of raised their hand. And I said, "No, I think maybe you're just golfers who play tournaments." And they all looked around like, "What the heck does that mean?" I kind of went through my outline of what I thought made a tournament golfer. And I told people, I'll do junior clinics and high schools and stuff. And I said, you can't just do one or two things that make you a tournament golfer. You have to do all of those things, which are, being your own best friend, understanding what you can control, what you can't control, getting up when you get knocked down, expect to get knocked down, embrace that suck and deal with it. So all of these things. And so really crazy, but they hadn't won a tournament all year and they won conference by 12 about 2 weeks later. So that made me think, wow, maybe I've got something. So I went and I I started writing and I researched golf books. You know how many golf books there are? 60,000 golf books. And I thought, oh, forget it. Nobody's going to want to hear from Mike Booker about anything. There's too many books out there. But as I checked out, which ones are, many of them are on the physical part of the game, not so much the mental part. The mental part was all written by sports psychologists. Psychologists are great, but most of them haven't stood over a 4-foot putt to qualify for the tour school or to qualify for the U.S. Amateur. They hadn't really been through that and missed it maybe. They haven't been through that pain. And so I thought maybe it's time for somebody who's been through all of that crap to write a book on it. So that's how really it got started. And then at the end of each chapter, I put in a life hack because I realized that pretty much anything I've been able to accomplish in the business world or personal life off the golf course really came from what I learned on the golf course.
Well, the golf season is in full swing. Spring is just around the corner. And as we get ready to wrap up our interview, I want you to provide like a simple mental tip that amateur golfers can apply immediately. I mean, say you're coming off a double. What is your post-shot routine? What are you saying to yourself? What is that breathing technique that you were just talking about? What do you do?
Sure. Well, first of all, I would tell any amateur to sharpen up your pre-shot routine so you're ready to hit that ball. So I don't care what the motions are, whether you stand behind the ball, you take a practice swing, whatever it is. Do it the same every time because that causes you to become in a familiar place every time. So you're not winging it every single time you take a swing. And in terms of post-shot routine, it is really just understanding that that's ancient history and now you've got to go forward and then get right back into your present tense and to forget about past tense. People think about, well, I got out of my, my present tense by thinking ahead of time, but you can also hurt yourself by spending all your time bemoaning the last hole where you made that double. So get your pre-shot routine really honed and make it the same every time. And everybody's going to have a bad hole, and that's part of the deal when we signed up to play this crazy game. So you got to put that in the past. But Coach Myers used to tell me when I made a bad hole, he said, "Book, that's ancient history." And that's what you got to get in the habit of, just being, like a goldfish, no memory, just forget about it and go forward. Hard to do, but that's how you succeed.
He is the Texas Golf Hall of Famer, Mike Booker, joining us on the Big E Sports Show. Thank you so much for coming on our program, but also just for those incredible memories and insights that you shared about the great Jackie Cupid. Have a wonderful weekend. We look forward to connecting perhaps right after the Masters. Okay, Mike?
Thanks so much. My pleasure.
You bet.